I'm Harold Green.
I'm Christine Lund, and this is Eyewitness News.
In the headlines on this Wednesday afternoon,
we'll begin a special report on why many bikers feel betrayed by the helmet law and are trying to get it repealed.
The idea of a mandatory helmet law for motorcyclists had been around for over a quarter of a century, usually never getting through the legislature, and when it did, it had been vetoed by 3 administrations. But when Governor Pete Wilson signed it, it became the most controversial law of 1992, and an effort to repeal it began. This week, Christine takes a look at this subject. Chris?
A lot of people have such strong feelings at work here. There are almost 900,000 people in California who do ride motorcycles, and most of them do wear helmets. Some of them wear them some of the time and some never, but they are all almost unanimous that the helmet law is a mistake. There's also a lot of agreement that the helmet law passed because we're now in the middle of a recession, and it passed not so much because of safety as false promises of huge tax savings. Assemblyman Richard Floyd said the magic words when he made an impassioned speech on the floor, claiming that head-injured motorcyclists were costing taxpayers $65 to $100 million a year. Later, traffic safety agencies absolutely denied those figures or even knowing Floyd. Investigation put the number a lot closer to $1.5 million. But it was too late. Governor Wilson signed the bill, making no specific references to lives or money saved. Floyd told me he didn't really care how wrong his numbers were, just so his bill passed.
Bottom line is, I don't give a rat's about any of the figures. It is the law of the state of California. Wear the hat or go to jail.
Playing a subtle role in the public perception of the controversy is a kind of outdated image that bikers carry. Rather than irresponsible risk-takers striking fear into the hearts of the meek, the typical motorcyclist is the person next door.
Anytime there's a bad guy on a bike, it's on a Harley. So they think everybody's a bad guy.
Are you a bad guy?
No, I'm not.
What are you like?
What am I like? Just me, a mother, grandmother, and I love riding my bike.
I'm a businessman. I've been riding for 33 years. I've never had an accident on the street. I teach and promote motorcycle safety. That's what my avocation is all about. This law is not what it appears to be. It is not the key to motorcycle safety. Training and education is.
I've been riding a motorcycle for 33 years now. I've never had a traffic ticket or a motorcycle accident. I'm a producer here in Los Angeles, and I think the motorcycle helmet law infringes upon my rights to ride free.
I own my own real estate business, have been riding for the last 20 years, have had no accidents or even citations. I just don't feel that this helmet law is going to accomplish any gains in motorcycle safety whatsoever.
I'm a technical secretary, I'm a single mom, I've been riding for several years, and this law simply isn't going to work.
The logic of wearing a helmet to save life seems almost to explain itself. But troubling facts exist that suggest there might be something very wrong with the idea that it's good for everyone to have to wear helmets all the time. Reliable statistics show that non-helmet states have 10% fewer fatalities than helmet law states and 22% lower accident rates. So instead of significantly reducing deaths and injury, helmet law states actually see an increase. The powerful feelings of bikers have caused 30 states to rescind or modify their helmet laws since 1965. Tomorrow we'll see artists of the stature of Billy Idol and Dwight Yoakam throwing their weight behind the effort to repeal California's helmet law. And tomorrow we're also going to be taking a very good close look at the motorcycle helmets themselves, how they work, and sometimes don't work too.
All right, you ride a Harley. If you had your druthers, would you wear the helmet or wouldn't you?
You're not supposed to ask me that on the air, Harold.
Come on now. Well, oh, I guess that's an unfair question.
Yeah, I'll tell you later.
Okay.
Okay. So the most controversial law on the books in 1992, that mandatory helmet law, seems to make such a great deal of sense to the average person, but the great majority of California motorcyclists, and there are almost 900,000 of them, they disagree. Some of them wear helmets all of the time, others sometimes, some never, and almost all of them agree that the law is a mistake. 30 other states have either dropped or changed their helmet laws at this point, and there's a big push among bikers to do the same thing here in California. Some members of the biking community are entertainers. Dwight Yoakam and Billy Idol threw their weight into a fundraising concert to support the legal battle to repeal or amend the helmet law.
I think that the motorcycle legislation illustrates, is a symptom of a far greater problem in our society, which is the extreme over-legislation of our private lives.
In the Star Wars over the helmet issue, actor Gary Busey was always passionately anti-helmet law. After a near-fatal accident, still was, and then later changed his mind.
I do support the helmet law completely, and I'm going to go to states where the helmet law is not mandatory and make a speech in terms of taking care of yourself, because I did hit the concrete going 45 miles an hour, and it's a miracle that I'm here. I know that from my experience.
In fact, Busey now has a commercial interest in promoting and selling a line of helmets.
It's called the Protector. You will be seeing it, and I will be endorsing it.
Freedom of choice for adults is a huge issue in the helmet law controversy, but at the core is the question of whether helmets are or are not the wonderful safety tool they might seem to be. Even experts do not agree. The most quoted pro-helmet expert is Harry Hurt.
We know now the difference between helmeted and unhelmeted motorcyclists to the finest possible detail. And we know exactly what helmets do, and we know exactly how badly helmets are needed by people when they fall on the pavement in a motorcycle crash.
But it's not hard to find other experts, neurosurgeons and emergency room physicians who strongly disagree.
Well, the helmet is a nice accoutrement. However, most accidents are deceleration injuries associated with motorcycles. And what happens is you get injuries to the thoracic area, the heart, the aorta, and or major blood vessels in the groin, the femoral arteries, and or neck.
Not the head.
Not the head. Only about 4% of injuries out of the 20,000 last year were head-related. And of those, a very small percentage were fatalities.
The helmet law literally guaranteed hundreds of millions of dollars in sales, but every penny is going out of the country. The United States had more than 50 helmet makers back in the 60s, but today there's not one left. Lawsuits by head-injured motorcyclists who were wearing helmets have driven manufacturers to Japan and Europe, where they're almost impossible to sue. But even Harry Hurt admits there are definite limits to helmet effectiveness.
The helmets begin to peter out when the impact speeds go up to 25 and to 30. It'll still prevent a major portion of the skull fractures and stuff, but when those impact speeds get up to be 25 to 30 miles an hour, there's no helmet in the world that's going to save you.
Helmets cost anywhere from $50 to $400. I asked Harry Hurt what the difference really was.
They all have to have the same minimum level of the right stuff to pass the DOT standard. But finally, in accidents, there's no difference between the helmet that costs $50 and the helmet that costs $250.
Crashing means you made a mental mistake. It's not an accident. You caused it to happen that way.
Tomorrow we'll see what saved hundreds of lives, doesn't cost a dime of tax money, but was fought and rejected by pro-helmet forces. Bikers themselves want to see tougher licensing standards. They want to see expanded training programs. And they're the ones who claim it's almost a hoax to suggest that helmets are a significant way to address motorcycle safety. But they do have some good ideas on how to do it. And that's tomorrow.
We'll see it.
Riding a motorcycle in big city traffic is dangerous enough that you really have to love it to do it at all. Clearly, a human being on two wheels, no match for a 3,000-pound car, and it's because the stakes are so high that California bikers, most of whom do wear helmets, are still fighting to repeal the mandatory helmet law. They say it's a matter of personal freedom and survival to decide for themselves if and when to put the helmet on. Two-thirds of all collisions involving motorcycles are the fault of the automobile driver. Half of those are caused by the same deadly error, the left-hand turn into the path of the motorcycle. At 25 feet, a motorcyclist becomes so small to a driver, they disappear behind a marking pen. They are not noticed or respected in traffic. The majority of riders say that helmets are no substitute for riding skill. And the fact that half of all motorcycle accidents involve one age group, 17 to 24, the young and inexperienced, drives the point home. Experts say without the training, helmets alone won't save anyone.
If you have an idiot out there riding around on a motorcycle with no helmet, you put a helmet on his head, if you solve the problem. No. Riding is 90% mental.
California's motorcycle safety program has had results nothing short of phenomenal. Since it began in 1986, injuries are down 34%, fatalities down 36%. It is the most dramatic safety achievement anywhere in the country. There are 4 intensive training sessions in the classroom and on the range. Experts teach largely for the love of the sport, and the bikes are provided. It's all paid for by student fees, not a penny of tax money. Motorcycle groups fought for a training and education amendment to the helmet law, but author Richard Floyd refused, saying training was not important.
What good is safety going to do, a program? Maybe those guys think they're smart who know how to ride. Maybe they're injuring themselves more than the people who's not trained.
You have to have an accident to have an injury or a fatality, and the key to motorcycle safety is prevent the accident. If you don't have an accident, you can't have a problem. And if you train people in the critical years, in that same critical year, 15 to 24, we just received recent data from the Highway Patrol which shows that better than 36 and 34% reductions, we've almost achieved 50% reduction in that critical age group. There's nothing that could touch that in an item of apparel.
The state is playing hardball with AB 7. Of 200 new laws on the books this year, only the helmet law gave Californians no grace period to adjust. And in spite of a recommended $60 to $75 fine, a first offense could cost $230.
We expect that the fatalities will be reduced by 25 to 35%. And when you realize in 1990 we killed 579 motorcyclists in this state, that means in 1992 that we will have approximately 150 to 200 less motorcycle deaths because of this particular law.
A legal fight is now on to win a preliminary injunction against enforcing the helmet law. But for motorcyclists, the frustration and anger simmers.
I think it's unconstitutional.
I think it stinks.
I want to ride without a helmet.
I guess that all I could do is ask that the public, in considering this piece of legislation, realize and perhaps have a degree of sympathy for the liberty that I and all the other motorcycle riders lose today, because the liberty that they cherish could be lost for them tomorrow.
It is possible that on the 26th of this month, that whole helmet issue could be decided. A California court will decide to grant or deny an injunction against enforcing the law. After that, it could go to the Attorney General's office or all the way to the state Supreme Court for a final decision, and we will see. Harold.
In the meantime, it is the law.
Yes, it is.
And you pay a hefty fine.
Yes, you do. Possibly $230.
$230. Wow. Okay, good series. Thanks.